Good morning, students. Welcome back to Social Online Class. I hope you all are fine and safe by the grace of God. Students, now which part we are learning? Have you remember, students? Very good. Now we are learning economics part. Is it? From economics part, now we are learning economics lesson 5 industrial clusters in Tamil Nadu. Is it? In the last class, I started that lesson, the introduction and importance of industrialization and types of industries we learned. Students, in the beginning of this class, we can recollect few important points about previous class portion. Okay. In previous class, first of all, we learned about industry and industrialization. Industry, the human activity that means converted raw materials into usable materials are called industry. Is it? Then we learned about industrialization. Is it? Have you remember students define industrialization? Industrialization refers to the process of using modern techniques of production to produce goods that are required by both, that means consumers and other producers on a large scale. Is it? Then from here, first of all, we learned about importance of industrialization. Is it importance of industrialization? Uh, there are four important things are very important through industrialization. Firstly, demand for food remains constant with regard to income. That means the demand for food remains and the income also constant. Constant means does not change. Does not change. Is it? Then secondly, the food that is consumed subject to more transformation, that means the products of foods are taken over longer distances of the world. Is it? So that particular food items are need to preserved. How to preserved? As a result, the prices of farmers get tend much less compared to the prices of consumers buy. Is it? Then thirdly, limit to the ability of agriculture to absorb labor due to the decline of marginal productivity. Okay, marginal productivity. The wages cannot increase. That means the wages are cannot increase. It absorb the labor limit to the labor ability. Limit of labor ability. So, cannot increase the workers' wages. Okay. Then finally, because of that, the poverty levels may be remain high. That means the poverty level will be increased. Okay. Then, so because of that, there is a need for an economy's production and develop employment on the basis of the diversify away from agriculture. That means only agriculture areas we cannot fulfill our needs. So the industrialization are very important too in our day-to-day life. Then next we learned about what benefits does industrialization bring to an economy. We are getting some of the benefits through industrialization. Even the agricultural field also need the help of industries, is it? For example, fertilizers. Mostly all the agricultural fields are used fertilizers and tractors. Okay, these fertilizers and tractors are produced through the industries. Is it? Secondly, the market also export the industries help. For example, the things are selling in the market and the consumers are buying their goods in the market. So the market also expected in the industries. Then and also even some of the services areas also expecting the industries. For example, banking, transport, trade. These all services areas also need to the help of the industries. Then thirdly, modern methods. They are using some of the modern methods of that means that they are using some of the modern technology to production area. So they produced more things in lower cost. So because of that, it helps the people to buy the goods in cheaper rate. And also, the once the goods rate is reduced means the demand where increase. Is it the purchasing power will be increase. Okay. Then fourthly, the expansion of production, the industrialization helps absorb the labor's force coming out of agriculture. That means the employment generation will increase, and also they are using some of the modern techniques in the industrialization, which contributes to learning of such methods and their improvement. As a result, the labor's input were increased. The labor's input were increase. That means which help workers earn higher wages. Finally, it expand the income. It expand the income and it increase the demand for goods and services. These are the important benefits of industrialization. Then finally we learned about the types of industries. Is it on the basis of something the industries are divided into some types. For example, uses, type of input used, ownership and size. On the basis of users, that means the output is consumed by final consumer is called consumer goods sector. Output is consumed by another producer are called capital goods sector. Then the industries that produce the raw materials for another industry such as cement and steel industries are called basic goods industries. Then type of input used, the industry is classified on the basis of the kind of raw material. For example, agro based industry, textile sector, rubber products, leather items, goods, etc. Then ownership, the particular industries are owned by private, then publicity and joint companies. That means private and publicity. The private, the government and private jointly owned that particular industries. Okay, then size. Many large scale firms. Firms means group of companies. Large scale firms are there. Small scale firms are there. Okay, then very tiny firms are there. That means micro firms or tiny firms are there. It increase the production. That means mostly the tiny and small scale industries used manpower. So the production also will increase. Okay, employment facilities also increase. These are the things we learned in the previous class. Then I gave some question answers. Did you learn, students? I hope you learned. Those who did not learn, day-to-day portion you have to learn. Okay, students? Okay. Now let us come forward to today's class. Today I am going to teach industrial clusters. Today I am going to teach industrial clusters. First of all, I am going to explain what is meant by industrial clusters. Okay, what is meant by industrial clusters? Industrial clusters are groups of firms in defined geographic area that share common markets, technologies and skill requirements. Industrial clusters means group of firms, that means group of companies, that particular industries or companies related link between one country to other country, the whole world, that particular industries are have link. Okay, that are called industrial cluster. Industrial cluster. Then the advantages of industrial clusters are observed by the famous economist. One of the famous economist, Alfred Morsel, says the advantages of industrial clusters. That means in the year 1920, he tried to understand the working of clusters of small firms, mostly the metal working and textile regions in England. In 1920, one of the famous economists, Alfred Mossel observed to the working of clusters of small firms in England. Which are the working clusters means metal working and textile regions. Okay. While the notion of an industrial district was developed by Mossel, it was only after the success of small firms in Italy in the year 1980. While notion means an idea, that means Marcel give an idea after improving the production of Italy in the year 1980, it became popular. First, he gives some of the ideas. He observed the clusters working in the year 1920. Finally, he developed, that means in the year 1980, the clusters were become popular. Okay. Policy makers in developing countries like India began to promote them actively as they realized that there are several such small farm clusters in country. That means some of the developing countries, importantly India is one of the developing country, is it? India promote them actively to realize these small farm clusters. Okay, then the following are the chief characteristics of a successful cluster. The following are the chief characteristics of a successful cluster. The first one is geographical proximity of small and medium enterprises. The first one is geographical proximity of small and medium enterprises. Listen very careful, students. This is very important 5-mark question. The characteristics of successful clusters. Okay. The first point is geographical proximity. Proximity means distance. Proximity means distance. The geographical distance of small and medium enterprises. Okay. Then the second one is sectoral specialization. Sectoral specialization, that means a particular area which someone concentrate. Sectoral specialization, especially some particular area, some person, some industrial owners concentrate. Then thirdly, close interfirm collaboration. Close interfirm collaboration. Interfirm collaboration, that means relating various economic sectors or trust linked with market. Close interfirm collaboration, that means relating various economic sector or trust linked with market. Then next one is interfirm competition based on innovation. Interfirm competition based on innovation. That means the interfirm competition, that means they are working together. The various economic sector, interfirm means various economic sector or trust. Okay, that particular threads work together based on innovation. Innovation means invention. Okay, then next one is a socio-cultural identity which facilitates trust. The socio-cultural identity, it have the facilities in the trust. Next one is multi-skilled workforce. That means multi-skilled workforce, abilities of workforce. Multi-skilled means abilities. Okay, abilities of workforce. Then next one is active self-help organizations. Some of the organizations are helped through these all industries. Finally, supportive regional and municipal governments. That means the municipal and the regional governments are supporting all the industries. These are the characteristics of successful clusters. Okay, these all firms are therefore expected to collaborate and compete with one another at the same time. Collaborate, that means these all firms, the all companies are expected to work together and compete means try to win. All the industries are work together, they are work together and they try to win with one another too at the same time. By collaborating, that means by work together, they can expand their capacity. They are expand their capacity, and they are learning more thing from one person to other person, or one industry to other industry. And also through competition, they are forced to become more efficient. They are showing some of the modern techniques, and because of competition, they are increasing their production. Okay, then the next one is, how do clusters originate? The next topic is, how do clusters originate? Okay, the clusters may arise to many factors. Firstly, certain clusters evolve over a long time in history when artisan settles in one locality and evolve over centuries. That means in the ancient period itself. In the ancient period itself, they formed the industrial clusters. That means in the ancient period, the handloom weaving is very, very famous. That means very, very important agricultural work. So they formed the handloom weaving clusters. So because of that, the handloom weaving were developed. It is one of the important examples of this clusters development. Then secondly, when a large farm is established, a cluster of farms may emerge to take care of its input and service requirements. Once the clusters, that means once the large farm is established, that particular clusters of farms, that means the group of companies are take care of their inputs and service requirements. At the same time, the governments also decide to encourage manufacturing using raw materials from a region, and also which may lead to emergence of clusters. That means the government also encourage the industrial clusters to manufacturing so many things with the help of the raw materials. Okay, so anyway, the ancient period itself, the clusters were originated. The ancient period itself, the clusters were originated. Okay, then the next topic is historical development of industrialization in Tamil Nadu. Next topic is historical development of industrialization in Tamil Nadu. There are more development are there in industrialization. Through industrialization, the in all the countries get so many developments. A lot of evidences are there for the improvement of the industrial things. For example, textile industry, textiles, shipbuildings, iron and steel making, pottery. These areas get so many improvement. That means development during pre-colonial period of Tamil Nadu. Pre-colonial means before colonial period. Pre-colonial means before colonial period. Okay, and also in the whole world, mostly India have vast coastline. Is it vast coastline? These coastline region also help to improve the production. That means economic condition. These most of the regions involved in trade, mostly Southeast and West Asia, they are linked with the trade several centuries. Okay, and also the colonial policies contributed to decline of handloom weaving industry due to competition from machine-made imports from England. That means during colonial period, they introduced some of the machines. So the handloom weaving will get decline. The handloom weaving will get decline, and also they introduced so many machines and so many modern technology to improve their production. They are developing the industry. So some industries also developed during this colonial period. Okay, finally, industrialization in the colonial period. Industrialization in the colonial period. There are two sets of factors have contributed to the process. The first one is the introduction of cotton cultivation in western and southern Tamil Nadu by the colonial government led to the emergence of a large-scale textile sector in this part. There are two sets of factors are very important in the colonial period. The first one is the introduction of cotton cultivation. That means in Tamil Nadu, the southern part and the western part mostly suitable for black soil. So that particular areas mostly the farmers are cultivating cotton. Okay, the farmers are cultivating cotton. So one of the large scale textile sector is in this part. Secondly, increase in trade during this period. That means the good port facilities are there. Already I told, is it India has the vast coastline. So many port facilities are there. Mostly Chennai and Tuticorin, one of the most examples of the facilities of port. So the trade, they are exporting and importing their production easily through this way of port. Then match factories emerged during the colonial period in the Sivagasi region. Match factories, one of the important factory is match factory. It is in Sivagasi region. Later, it became major center for fireworks production and printing. Match factors in Sivagasi. Later it became the center of fireworks production and printing. Then port related activity also contribute to the growth of the region. Later, the leather production also taking place in Dindigul, Belur and Ambur areas. These are the, that means leather industry also they set up in some of the place like Dindigul, Belur and Ambur. Okay. Then in western Tamil Nadu, the emergence of textile industries also led to demand and starting of textile machinery industry in the region. That means in the western Tamil Nadu, some of the industries demand has the textile machinery. So they introduced some of the new machines to textile areas. This textile machinery industry trend led to the rise of number of small workshops. That particular workshops do the works for repair and producers of machinery components. That particular workshops are do the works, especially they are repairing and producing machinery components. Then another major development in western region is the introduction of electricity. Okay, another major development in western region is the introduction of electricity. Okay, the hydroelectric power is introduced in the year 1930. Okay, hydropower electricity that is introduced in the year 1930. Then availability of electricity allowed for use of oil engines for drawing groundwater. That means mostly this hydroelectric power availability of this electricity is allowed to use for oil engines. Then this led to both the expansion of agriculture as well as it increased the demand for oil engines. That means the hydroelectric power, it is used through the agricultural sectors and also it increased the demand for oil engine also. So it led to emergence of workshops for servicing engines. So it led the workshops for servicing the engines and it addressing the demand for spare parts. That means it produced the spare parts items. Okay. Then and also it set up some of the spare parts, some of the industries in agricultural machinery began to be produced. Some of the agricultural machines also produced through these industries. Okay, these are the industrialization in the colonial period. In the colonial period itself, there are many development or there through the industrialization. Okay, can you understand, students? Shall we recall the points? Students, which topic now we learned? Have you remember? Now we learned about industrial clusters. Is it industrial clusters? What is mean by industrial clusters? Industrial clusters are groups of firms, that means groups of companies. It defined geographic area that share common markets, technologies, and skill requirements. Is it? Then next we learned about the chief characteristics of successful clusters. Is it chief characteristics of successful cluster? This is one of the important 5 mark question. The first one is geographical proximity of small and medium enterprises. Proximity means distance, is it? Geographical distance of small and medium enterprises. Secondly, sectoral specialization. Second one is the sectoral specialization. That means promoting to a particular area industries. That means the particular areas which someone concentrate and particular area. Next, close interfirm collaboration, that means relating various economic sectors or trust linked with markets. Then interfirms competition based on innovation, that means all the trust or work together to invent something. Then a social cultural identify with facilities trust, multi-skilled workforce, abilities of workforce, then active self-help organization, supportive regional and municipal governments. These are the characteristics of successful clusters. Is it? Then next we learned about how do clusters originate. Next we learned about how do clusters originate. In the ancient period itself, the clusters were originated. Is it? That means in the ancient period itself, they started some of handloom weaving clusters. Handloom weaving clusters. Then this sector, large firm is established may emerge to take care of input and service requirement. Government also decide to encourage these all clusters to manufacturing so many things with the help of the use of some of the raw materials. Okay, then so anyway, the ancient period itself, the clusters are originated. Okay, then the next we learned about historical development of industrialization in Tamil Nadu. The development or there through industrialization. For example, pre-colonial period itself, that means before colonial period, the many development are there through the industrial areas. For example, in the textile areas, shipbuilding, iron and steel making, pottery, these areas get some of the development during pre-colonial period through industrialization. Then secondly, we learned about industrialization in the colonial period. Finally, we learned about the industrialization in the colonial period. There are two sets of factors that contributed the industrialization in the colonial period. First one is they introduced the cultivation of cotton. Okay, they introduced the cultivation of cotton. That means in some of the western and southern part of Tamil Nadu has black soil. So that black soil is suitable for cotton cultivation. Is it? So the colonial period itself, they introduced the cultivation of cotton. So large scale textile industries were introduced. Secondly, they increased the trade because India has vast coastline. Some of the ports are there, especially Chennai and Thoothukudi, most important port in Tamil Nadu. Through this port, they are producing some of the goods items or some of the things they are exporting and importing. Through this port, they are exporting and importing their production. For example, the Max factories in Sivagasi, later it become one of the fireworks production and printing. Then some of the leather production in Tindikal, Vellore and Ambur. These also examples of industrial clusters. That means that during colonial period, they increased the industrial clusters. Then in western Tamil Nadu emerged the textile industries also led to demand and starting textile machinery. That means the textile industries are demanded some of the textile machinery. So they formed some of the small workshop for repairing their machines and producing the machinery components. Then another important thing is to the introduction of the electricity. In 1930, they introduced the hydroelectric power. That power used through the agricultural area and the industrial areas. The industrial areas also they used this hydroelectric power. That means they expanded the agriculture as well as the industries through this hydropower and their textile machineries. Okay, these are the things are increased, that means developed during colonial period. During colonial period, these are the things are developed. Okay, students, the continuation of this lesson I will teach the next class. Okay, now all are take a book. Turn the exercise page. Turn the exercise pages. Take a book all. Students, take a book. Turn exercise page. Page number 337. Page number 337. Short answer. First question already I gave, and some book inside question also I gave. Is it? Then second question. What is mean by an industrial cluster? What is mean by an industrial cluster? Answer is page number 329. Answer is page number 329. Industrial clusters heading. Industrial clusters heading. Starting to. Industrial clusters are group of firms in a defined geographic area that share common markets, technologies and skill requirements. Close the bracket. Then one more detailed question is there. Roman number 6. Write brief answer. First question. What are the important characteristics of successful industrial clusters? What are the important characteristics of successful industrial clusters? Page number 329 and 330. 329 and 330. Industrial clusters heading, last para. The following are the chief characteristics of a successful cluster. From there, first point. Then the next page number 330. There some points are there, is it? Sectoral specialization, close interfirm collaboration, interfirm competition based on innovation, a socio-cultural identity which facilitates trust, multi-skill workforce, active self-organization, and supportive regional and municipal governments. Close the bracket. This is 5-mark question. Okay, close the bracket. These 2 questions I gave. Students, everyday portion you have to learn. Write in a rough note. You correct it and get parent signature. Okay. Okay, students, the continuation of this lesson I will teach the next class. We will meet next class. Thank you.